Hello there, welcome to the Football Bloc. My name's Brandon. Today we're going to look back at my predictions for the 2022 World Cup group stage and see how they went. If that sounds interesting, then let's hop right into it. So the 2022 World Cup group stage has officially come to an end. We looked at the matches already, but now let's look back at the group stage itself, the group standings, and see how my predictions went. If you remember, I did a video about 2-3 weeks ago looking at all of the groups, and I gave my prediction for who's going to go through, who's going to get eliminated, who's going to top the group, things like that. So without further ado, let's get into Group A. Now, as you can see here on my one side of the screen, I have my predictions versus what actually happened in the World Cup. And we start off with Group A. Netherlands qualified, Senegal joined them, Ecuador third, and Qatar fourth. Now my prediction, I predicted that the Netherlands correctly would top the group. However, I thought they would top the group more emphatically. I thought they would probably win each of their games. In reality, they did beat Senegal and Qatar. Now they looked really dominant in that Qatar game, but obviously Qatar was already eliminated at that point. And to be honest, they didn't really look that convincing against Senegal, and they tied Ecuador, but in my opinion, Ecuador outplayed them. But still, they got the job done. They topped the group. And in second place, I had Qatar. Now, obviously, Qatar did not finish second. They finished bottom. And for all intents and purposes, they were probably the worst team at the 2022 World Cup. They were pretty bad. And, you know, I assumed that Qatar would do well, considering that the host nation always overperforms. This is the first time that didn't happen. And also, Qatar, as I said before on this channel, is a legitimate team. They are a good team. They're the reigning Asian champions. They've done well at these other tournaments that they participated in, not to mention, you know, from a practical side, you have to look at the referees, and you know, there was always a possibility of foul play there, which really didn't happen. If anything, Qatar, with the exception of that opening goal in the first game against Ecuador, they didn't really get help from the referees. If anything, they got hurt by the referees. They should have had a penalty against Senegal that would have opened the score, or at least it was tied 0-0, and Qatar could have opened the score, but that was not given. It wasn't even looked at by VAR. So Qatar actually can feel a little hard done by when it comes to the referees. Ecuador, I had them finishing bottom. I didn't really expect much of them, but I was completely wrong with this prediction. Ecuador was actually very, very good, and I think they're unlucky to make it out, to not make it out of the group stage. Now onto Group B. My prediction was that England would top the group, USA would go in second, and Iran and Wales would then finish the group in that order. And that's exactly what happened. I thought that, or I correctly predicted that England would top the group, but they wouldn't really, you know, dazzle. And while, yes, they did drop a lot of goals, I did think that they showed that they aren't perfect. They do have some visible flaws. The USA did just enough, but it was very close, and all these teams were competitive. So I was correct in that prediction there. And obviously, as an American, I'm very proud that we made it out of the group. And despite this team having a lot of inexperience and you know, not that much World Cup experience, I thought we did pretty good, all things considered. Now on to the next group. We have Group C, and my prediction was that Argentina would top the group, Saudi Arabia would surprise everyone and come in second place, Poland would finish third, and Mexico would finish bottom of the group. And I was correct in that Argentina would top the group. No surprise there. I think everyone else predicted that as well. But surprisingly, Saudi Arabia did not finish second, despite beating Argentina in their opening match of the World Cup, one of the biggest World Cup shocks of all time. And I think this group is a lot closer than most people expected, because yes, Saudi Arabia did finish bottom of the group. However, I thought they played well at times, specifically against Poland. I think they really should have beaten Poland. If it wasn't for Szczesny, who's the goalkeeper of the tournament at this point, Saudi Arabia would have had 6 points. And depending on goal difference, they maybe even could have topped the group. Mexico, I correctly predicted that Mexico would be disappointing this World Cup, but I did not see them being this bad. I thought it'd be really close, and in the end it was close, but Mexico defensively looked okay, and Ochoa is Ochoa at the World Cup. He's always going to be there, but going forward, they really just lacked any type of goal threat. It was really disappointing. So I would consider myself close in this prediction, considering I wasn't correct in that Saudi Arabia, they didn't eventually make it out of the group, but they did play well. And I did also correctly predict that Mexico would not go through, which a lot of people, didn't predict, and understandably so, because Mexico has made it to the group stage of the past, I don't know, however many World Cups it was since, I think, 1990. So now let's go into Group D, and I had Denmark topping this group, joined by France and then Tunisia and Australia. And man, I got this group wrong. I got this one really wrong. I thought that France would be disappointing, but would ultimately rely on their talent to get through. I thought that Denmark would dominate the group, and Denmark would be one of the best teams at this World Cup. And then I thought Tunisia and Australia would be far below the other two, that there'd be a massive drop. That couldn't have been far from the truth. Obviously, France, they did struggle at times. There was parts in all three of their matches that they played where they looked, kind of exposed, and they also lost to Tunisia, but by that point they had already qualified and they were playing their bench players. But safe to say, they were the best team in this group, and they've proven to be one of the best teams at this World Cup. Versus Denmark were awful. Denmark, in my opinion, maybe the biggest disappointment so far, considering that I had them going as far as the semifinals, and they couldn't even top the group. Not even that. They finished bottom of the group. They scored one goal, and it was from Christensen off a set piece, and it was kind of a scrappy goal. Similar with Mexico, and then this is a recurring issue with some other teams as well. They just could not score. They didn't have a goal scorer, and they don't have a traditional number 9, but at the Euros, a lot of other guys were able to chip in and provide the goals. That didn't happen this time around, and overall, the team just they did not seem like the Denmark that we know over the past 2 years. Australia, on the other hand, and Tunisia to a certain extent as well, were actually very good. Tunisia defended well throughout the tournament. I thought they would get picked apart by all these other teams. They did not. They only conceded one goal, and it's a shame that they get eliminated while only conceding one goal. Australia, who, in my opinion, might have the weakest squad throughout the entire World Cup, their strategy was perfect in that, yes, okay, they lost to France, but they were able to navigate a win over Tunisia, and they were able to pull off a win against Denmark. And they thoroughly deserved both of those wins. So credit to Australia for being able to go through. And yeah, again, his prediction of mine was very wrong. Then we have Group E. And again, this one was completely wrong. But, I think that a lot of people's predictions ended up being wrong on this one, because this group was crazy. I had Spain and Germany topping the group, and like the other group, I thought that there'd be a big talent gap between the next two in Japan and Costa Rica. And at one point, obviously you can see here Japan topping the group, but at one point, both Spain and Germany were eliminated, considering Costa Rica was beating Germany in that final game. Now, they weren't able to hold on to that lead, but still, Germany go out in the group stage. Now, I thought that Germany would have an overall underwhelming World Cup, but I did not see it being this bad. They didn't even qualify for the knockout round for back-to-back World Cups. That is pretty bad. Spain, on the other hand, they looked really good in the first game, but this team just lacks composure. They would play well for 45 to 50 minutes of the game and then just drop the ball in the other parts. And Japan was able to slip in. And I don't really think Japan has really played all that well. Now, they played great in patches, but they're not a team that's going to dominate the entire 90 minutes yet. They've done just enough, and they've done everything right to top the group. And Costa Rica, while yes, they did lose 7-0 in their first game, they recovered and they did well. It was a very respectable performance in those next two games. So yeah, my prediction for this one, completely wrong. Going on to Group F, and this one, again, my prediction was wrong, but I was relatively close. I did correctly predict Belgium going out, which a lot of people disagreed with me. They were like, Belgium, they're so talented. Yes, they might be a little old, but they still gonna top the group. Nope, Now, they didn't finish bottom like I thought they would, but still, they failed to go through, and they looked really bad as well. They were incredibly disappointing. And Croatia, on the other hand, I thought Croatia played good, but still there's they still lack that world-class talent that they had 4 years ago. But they still did a good team. They still are a good team. Canada, I think, are a little hard done by considering how well they played in the first game against Belgium, but then they ended up losing. They didn't play good against Croatia, but I think that just shows the youth and inexperience in this team. Morocco, on the other hand, Morocco surprised everyone. I thought this Morocco team would be formidable, but I didn't see them being this good. They were very, very good. Topping the group, fully deserved. They completely outplayed Belgium. They were able to stifle Croatia, and then they got the result against Canada. And, not a lot of people have been talking about this Moroccan team because other crazier upsets have happened at the same time. But this Moroccan team is one to watch out for, of course. And obviously, this is maybe the biggest achievement of Morocco in their entire footballing history, besides if AFCON wins, if they have one. I'm not sure about that. But if they have not, then this is probably the biggest achievement, topping a World Cup group consisting of teams like Croatia and Belgium. Now on to the next group, and this one here, I got Brazil going through, but again, I think everyone had Brazil going through. I thought that Serbia would have enough to join Brazil in the knockout stage, but that ultimately did not happen. Now this group was very close. Serbia played really well at times, but their defense just let them down. Over the course of these 3 games, they conceded 8 goals. Cameroon actually finished over top Serbia, and I think that Cameroon had a respectable performance. I think they were clearly the weakest team in this group, but they played well when they needed to. Ultimately, that was not enough to send them through, but still, they came away with a 1-0 win over Brazil. Yes, okay, Brazil had already qualified and they were playing their bench players, but still, beating Brazil, no matter who is on the field for Brazil, is a massive achievement. So credit to Cameroon. And Switzerland, I thought this Swiss team had passed their prime. I thought they hit their peak in the last Euros, and that was pretty much it. But Switzerland proved that they will forever be Switzerland, and in that meaning that they will, do just enough to qualify for the knockout stage. They're not going to, dazzle the stage incredibly, but they're a solid team, and if you're not paying attention, they can catch you sleeping, and that's what happened to Serbia and Cameroon to a certain extent as well. Now on to the last group. This one was another one that was completely crazy. Now, I do applaud myself for saying that Portugal would top the group, because earlier in the year, in the summer, my very early predictions, I had Uruguay topping the group and going all the way to the semifinals. But then closer to the World Cup, I revised that prediction, and then I thought that Portugal just had more individual talents, and I thought that something about this team, I thought that they would top the group and make a good run. Now that remains to be seen if they will make a good run, but they definitely did just enough to top the group, a lot of times relying on individual talent versus Uruguay, who, I think Uruguay is a little hard done by because I thought they were good. Yes, they got outplayed by Portugal, but it wasn't complete destruction. I thought they deservedly beat Ghana. There was no competition there. But that draw against South Korea is really what undid them. And they were unlucky in some senses to draw because they hit the post numerous occasions, but still they did lack a little quality going forward with a guy like Darwin Nunez, who did not have a good tournament. South Korea, what a surprise. I thought that South Korea would finish bottom of the group. I did not expect much of them at all, especially considering Son is dealing with that face injury. But, even though he's not at his best, he was still able to come up in big moments. And with that win over Portugal in the very last match, South Korea sneaks into the knockout stage. What a crazy achievement that is. Credit to them. Ghana, they finished bottom of the group, and I still think that Ghana was a good team. However, they were able to beat South Korea, surprisingly so, and they were able to score 2 on Portugal. And again, I think they were probably the weakest team out of this group, because even though they did win over South Korea, it was a game that really could have gone either way. But still, they showed up, they played well, they did not get blown out. And I think every single one of these teams, even the ones that got eliminated, they all played well in terms of the small teams. The only one that was just bad was Qatar. But even still, they weren't, losing 7-0 every game. This wasn't like Panama at 2018, or even Cameroon in the 2014 World Cup. So overall, I think my predictions for the 2022 World Cup group stage went decent. I credit myself with some big wins. For example, predicting that Belgium would not make it through, for Portugal top in the group. But other than that, most of my predictions that I did get correct were kind of the ones that everyone else would predict. Brazil, England, Argentina, Netherlands, Spain top in the group. Whereas I did get some ones completely wrong. For example, Denmark or Australia or Qatar. But in the end of the day, that's how these predictions go. It wouldn't be fun if everything I predicted beforehand went exactly how I thought it was going to be. So anyway, guys, let me know what you thought. Let me know how your predictions went. What did you think of my predictions? Did you find it funny, all the ones that I got completely wrong? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Share this video with a friend. But anyway, guys, my name is Brandon. This has been the Football Bloc. Hope you guys have a nice rest of your day.